Greetings, everyone. Welcome to THL's Hearthcenter, your show bringing you some of the hottest results from THL week number one. We're going to be talking about Hero. We're going to be talking about Legacy. We're going to be talking about Pro. We have Player of the Week tonight back, and I am joined by quite a star, just quite a starry cast tonight. First of all, joining me for many of our shows and just all around, always present here in THL. Everyone knows that by now, but his favorite card is Park Panther. We have Corridon.
Yeah, Park Panther. That's an interesting one. I feel like you've had me on the Druid kick for a
Yeah,
while.
it has to be
Yeah,
Druid. Druid is always
right?
there,
Park Panther's an interesting one. You get those surprise lethals by, gaining a little extra attack when your opponent thinks they're safe. All right, I'll take it, Lotus.
directly from Australia, and fittingly right below Corrodon, we have the one and only Bone Masher, the leader of the APM teams. And APN does tell me that his favorite card has to be Field Contact.
Field Contact is still in the best deck, so definitely be running that for sure.
Nice. How are you doing, Bone Masher?
I'm doing well. I'm enjoying my Wednesday afternoon. I don't know about the rest of you, but I can tell you in the future that Rogue is still good.
Nice. Nice. That is, I don't know if it's good to hear, but it is a thing to hear. We have on the top right, back from his stunt in, when was that? Was it the draft show? I believe it was the draft show. We have Super Chicken here tonight. How are you doing, Chicken?
Great, thanks. Yeah, I think the last thing I did on stream was casting a draft series match with Neji actually.
Nice. Yeah, I did see that. That was a good match. Um, as everyone knows, Super Chicken's favorite card right now is Hero Varden Downgrass.
So true, maybe playable now.
And last but not least, we have the one and only Neji Boston here joining us tonight. Neji, how are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you. Thank you, as always, for joining us. And Neji did tell me before the show that his favorite card to play right now is the 7 mana 6/6 that everyone remembers, Strongman.
Oh yeah, I'm playing Clown Druid 24 hours a day right now. It's really good.
Right?
Yeah,
Underrated deck. I'm sure it's underrated.
for sure.
So, we're going to begin our show tonight by going through the player of the week. And then we're going to hop over Hero Series, followed by Legacy, and finally Pro Series. To read our first player of the week, Bone Master, do you want to take this one for Legacy?
Sure. Our Legacy Player of the Week is Diamond. Diamond comes in shining bright in the first week of the season, stealing a win from a strong opponent. His win helped his team win the week with only 1 point. Diamond teams are always strong. Let's see if he and his team can continue the magic into next week. That was from Dushamo.
Yep, Diamond, congratulations on winning Player of the Week for Legacy. Chicken, do you want to read our Hero Player of the Week?
Yeah, for sure. Always love to get to talk about a fellow teammate. So our hero player of the week is You Kitten Me. So You Kitten Me has joined the defending champs and has quite the shoes to fill replacing Molestar. But in their debut week, You Kitten Me took a 3-1 win in a 197 PR differential.
Wow,
Absolutely monster statement to start their career in the league.
that's true. That's quite the match. Neji, do you want to tell us our final Player of the Week for Pro Series?
Yeah, for sure. We have XQMA. With week one hanging in the balance, XQMA delivered against a strong opponent, taking a 3-1 victory and solidifying the week for NPH. This win comes off the coattails of a great previous season, and they will look to build on it for the coming season. from Corden.
Awesome. Thank you so much for reading those, and thank you, Corden, DeSharmo, and Based for the Player of the Week statements. That said, I believe it is the time that we hop in Hero Series. Everyone ready to talk about Hero?
Always.
Definitely.
Awesome. So we're going to begin looking at the standings for Teal Conference, and Corden is going to give us a brief intro into what is going on in Teal.
Yeah, so starting right at the top to probably nobody's surprise, make a 5 seed out of a mole hole, taking the first spot for 21 points. Booty Bay Yacht Club following closely behind with 18. The Unknown and No Pros here, technically tied for 17, but some game wins in there and tiebreakers. 40 on main, 15, and then Korak City and APM Yang tied for the bottom spot with 10 points. Still early on, so really the points are kind of sporadic, but impressive to see how many points Mohol got this time around.
That's true. Really hot start by Moho. Bone Masher, do you want to tell us what's going on in the purple standings?
Yeah, sure. So, Purple Conference, we have in first place, we have Golden Wisps on 20 points. Second place, APM Yin on 19. F12 Black are on 18 points. Team at Any Cost and Dad Legend are tied on 12 points for fourth place. Then we have LeBron, and at Diamond holding up the rest of the conference on 8 points.
Mm-hmm. Before we hop into the matches, I want to ask you, Bone Masher, if you have any initial thoughts on how these conferences are looking, even though it's a bit early to say anything.
Well, yeah, doing the podcast, we all had LeBran as our team to beat in Hero, and I'm sure we'll be talking about their position in Hero when we do the next episode of the podcast or the one after that. I wasn't expecting them down the bottom. I definitely don't expect any Diamond teams down the bottom. So, but I think Purple Conference is looking a little upside down, which is good. It means it's
Yeah.
competitive and it's open. You know, nine rounds to play. Teal Conference, I doubted the Molehole team. We gave them a bit of a hit in the podcast, and they're proving me wrong. So
Nice.
yeah, it's good to see them. Good to see them continuing with their form from last season.
Sure. Speaking about LeBron, I'll hop into the first match. Neji, I know you have a lot to talk about in this match where we had LeBron versus APM Yin.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely do. All right. Yeah, APM Yin versus LeBron. We have Base versus J Rich in the 1 seed. Base took that one in a 3-0 sweep. Then in the 2 seed, we have JR Juggerlaw versus Nails. And JR did sweep Nails. That's a big win for JR. And unfortunate for Nails. Then in the 3 seed, we have Vino Spumoni versus Astro Frog. Vino Spumoni took the 3-2, close one there. Then we had Trito 2 versus Lemur down in the 4. Trito did take that one. And then also in the 5, APN Yin gets another win. Snipe Hunter 3-1 over Roadrunner. So APM Yin with a huge week here over a team that was honestly like a top contender. So we'll have to see how LeBron bounces back. LeBron is a returning team. They were bans last season and they made it to the semifinals. And APM Yin is a new team, so congrats to APM Yin on a big week here.
Bone Masher, do you have any thoughts on this match?
Yeah, it's my team. We did really well. I think our strength going into the season was going to be the bottom half. We sort of got some higher PR players than a lot of teams. And I saw all the 2 seeds that are in our conference. JR getting the win over Nails was massive. I think his was the last match, and We knew going into that Nails could sweep to get the victory, and then JR sort of just needed those 2 wins. So yeah, fantastic job by JR to stand up and take the win for us in the first week and get that upset.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else wants to say anything about APM Yin versus LeBran?
Nails is a great player, but he did lose to JR Juggerlaw.
Fair?
Continuing the Nails losing to people with a lot less PR than him.
Classic Nails.
Yeah, I still don't get how he's a 2 seed.
Yeah, it is crazy. He's like a consecutive Masters Tour player, like insanely high legend player, and then just ends up in the 2 seed on a legacy team somehow.
Yeah.
All right. I'll move on to our second match of the night. Chicken, why don't you tell us about your match? We had Make a 5 seed out of a molehole versus APM Yang.
Yeah, I mean, stop the count now. We're in first, and let's end the season here. I mean, yeah, it started out really well for us actually. I think Nine was the first to play his match. He started up 2-0 in his match, and then it ended up being brought to a game 5, but he was able to close it out. Then I believe Kitten played his also on Saturday
Mm-hmm.
and won. CMAC played Sunday morning and won. So by that point, we'd already won the week. So, and then I, of course, played my match and lost. The only one on my team that lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then Skirt, of course, new in the 4 seed, but not new to Hero at all. Closed it out. Well, it was a close match, but I was pretty confident that he was going to win it.
Fair? Corden, any thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's really good that Molehole came out and performed. Being defending champs, it's definitely one you see from the team. Putting up the most points possible too, and really even Chicken. Dragging it out and getting as many points in a loss as possible. It just really goes to show that the team's cohesive still, even with losing. Molestar there and having a 5 seed. Not really having anybody slot back into that 2 seed, but everyone gets bumped up one, and it's good to see that they're still playing to a high potential, and it's going to be good to see what the season holds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyone wants to share any final insights on this match? All right. I'll take that as a no as we move into our third match. Our third and final hero match we're going to be talking about tonight is Booty Bay Yacht Club versus Team at Any Cost. And I believe this was a cross conference match for week 1. So I think Bone Masher, why don't you tell us a little bit about this match?
Yeah, so we've got cross conference. There's going to be one every week, and I think there's a couple of cross conference rounds. But yeah, this is 2-Star Mako's team. He's the only one returning from his side that won 2 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
That he played again last season. So yeah, he's sort of done the whole clean out, brought a few guys in. Boozosaurus is back, Saber's back. He's got Yaxter in there in the 2. Matty Ebbs is back in the 4. So a lot of players that have been here before that are making a return to THL. And yeah, they got the job done this week against Team Nanny Cost. Sabretooth in the 1 gets the 3-1 over Exart. Yaxter went down to Yodaddy in the 2, 3-1. Boozosaurus got the job done in the 3, 3-2 over Gamer Dude. Matty Ebbs went down 2-3 to Maskin in the 4, and then in the 5, Mako in the Battle of the Captains, Mako gets the 3-1 over Duocat to get the job done in a really close series. There's no sweeps there. I think there's a lot of sweeps in Hero this
Yeah.
week, so it's interesting to see a round, like especially first round, like you can have some blowouts where you don't underestimate a deck. So It looks as though this was a tightly fought series, and it looked like it went down to the wire.
That's true. Corden, any thoughts on BBYC versus Team at Any Cost?
I think it's one of the most back and forth matchups that we saw from Hero. Strong showings from both squads. Um, Really, I mean, a lot of these individuals on Booty Bay have been out for a little while. Yeah, sure. Fellow teammate or ex-teammate of mine, and Booze was out for a while, and I think even Matty Ebbs, just coming back not too long ago. So impressive to see these individuals putting up some points against, Yo Daddy, Mascoon, I think might be newer, but Gamer Dude's been around for a little while now, and I know
Yes.
Sabretooth, people are aware, playing in a lot of off-season matchups, off-season tournaments, and things like that. So, Mako looks like he's strung himself together. Some people who haven't been around for a while, but I think they're definitely going to put on, and you can see here that they got the job done.
Awesome. Anyone want to share any final thoughts on BBYC versus Team at Any Cost, or in Hero as a whole, before we move on to talk about Legacy Gold?
I think just that Hero's definitely been a bit of a shock in terms of like the results from week one. Like I think I don't know, I personally probably would have picked Ezart to win his match, for example. Like
Sure.
he's an elite player that plays in tons of Masters tours. But I mean, maybe it was the getting used to, a closed list LHS format, which is pretty uncommon.
Yeah.
So I think he might warm up to the format in the next few weeks. But yeah, it definitely was a surprise to see him lose his first match.
I agree. I think it's a player that we're going to be seeing a lot of. So I wouldn't be surprised, but a lot of players struggle the first time because the format is different, the rules are a bit, they might not be used to it. It's normal to take a while to get to just to understand the format. There may have been a surprise priest from Sabretooth. He's welcome to share it in chat since I don't know anything about it, but I am curious what spicy priest we could have seen there. Now, I'll use this opportunity to move on to Legacy Gold, where we see a screen that really looks like an old time screen from like season around when I joined, like season 8, 9. Tell us a little bit about it. We have Neji. Neji, tell us what's going on in Gold.
Yeah, for sure. In Gold Conference, we have Pod People at the top of the standings. Pod People took season off last season and came back strong with a 23-point week. So very impressive. We'll see how they can do the rest of the season. And also Destubs, another team that's been around for a while, also at the top of the standings in second place. Then we also have Defias and Cloudstone Academy with 16 points, Fish with 12, Agent P's Golden Showers have 11, Not Justin with 10, and IDK have 6 down at the bottom right now.
Speaking of Pod People and IDK, I think that was the only 20-point match this week. So, Neji, why don't you tell us about what happened there?
Yeah, for sure. So starting off, we have Ridiculous Hat versus Earl. Ridiculous Hat took it 3-1. Then Dragon Rider coming back to THL this season with a 3-1 over JR. Starlax took a 3-1 over Jespin in the 3 seed. Wicked Good 3-2 over Raptor. And Swaybe also coming back with a 3-1 over Mighty Biz. So Pod People getting a clean 5-0 match sweep over IDK this week. Huge win for them and a great start to the season.
That's quite the crazy start for the season. Bone Masher, any thoughts on Pod People versus IDK?
Yeah, I think Pod People have definitely been a little underestimated. We didn't rate them that highly in the podcast, but they've certainly come out and shown that they're going to be a tough team to play against and to beat this season. Any team that can put 5 wins together in the first first round. That's almost like 2 wins in a 9 round season. So they're certainly trying to put their best foot forward and looking to make playoffs this season.
Yeah. Odd people, I think they're one of those teams that, for me, on paper, they just look so good. I'm always surprised they aren't higher than they are, and it's nice to see them just starting with the strongest punch you can ever start. Anyone wants to share any final thoughts on Pod People versus Illidan's Death Knights? Awesome. Corridon, why don't you tell us about the next match that I think it's personal for at least 2 people here?
Yeah. So the next matchup we have here is going to be Clownstone Academy versus Fish Dot. Um, pretty down to the wire this one. Clownstone Academy, our team here, just barely scraped out a 13-12 win, but a win nonetheless. Pretty much came down to Dr. Fish played 2 fly, scraped out the 1 point, which then relied on me to just win versus Vampire Knight. Got off to a 2-0 start. I was pretty shaky. It was pretty good, and then Vampire Knight got the win. And you're always thinking, oh no, reverse sweep, here it comes. But it wasn't to be. I was able to squeak out the win there, and I think we're looking pretty good. I know Neji was a little bit busy here coming into the end of finals and things like that, so wasn't as prepped as we could always be, but we held them up, and we're gonna come back next week pretty strong, I think.
Mm-hmm. Neji, any thoughts on this match you want to share?
Yeah, I'm proud of my team for getting the win after I started the week 0-3 and we were down 4-0, unfortunately. Izot definitely out-prepped me here and played really well. I brought a bunch of combo stuff and he had neophytes in all his decks and it was just really hard to get anything going. So well played to him. Definitely deserved the win there. But proud of my team for bringing it back for sure. Getting the close win. Hopefully this week we can get a ton of points.
For sure. Anyone wants to share their thoughts on this match? Anything before we move on to Legacy Red?
Yeah, it's I God, how is based a 2 seed? I mean, similar to Nails, like she's just such an like excellent player. And I don't this I think this Clownstone Academy team is gonna be really, really strong this season.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, everyone in their seed's really strong. Like Fish is definitely one of the better 5 seeds. Same with Diamond, Corden. Well, Neji's there too, but yeah, I think this team is really, really strong. And also, yeah, this is definitely more the result I expected Ezard to get.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna
Okay.
have a lot more. Well, this is more just like once again like mentioning how good Ezard is. Because I think a lot of people in THL probably don't know who he is unless they've been watching like some of the Masters Tour broadcast. Like he is like an excellent player, and I think he's gonna have a ton of success.
All right. Any final thoughts on Gold, or should we move on to Red Conference? Awesome. So to tell us how the standings look for Red, we'll have Super Chicken go over what is Red Conference looking like right now.
Yeah, for sure. So in first, we have Just Win and F2L White with 20 points each. Dad Legend in third with 19. Then it's IF2L with 18. Serenite Pain Gang with 13 points. Everyone's a winner with 9. Chaos Theory with 7. And MUOH Hearthstone with 5 points.
Now, Chicken, any thoughts on the way these teams look? Would this be what you expected at the beginning of the season, or would you say this is a bit of an upset before we talk about individual matches?
I think I expected Team Just Win to be strong, but I don't know if I expected them to have a 20-point week. They definitely had a solid season. Last season they actually lost to the eventual champions in the first round of playoffs, if I remember correctly,
Mm-hmm.
losing to Defias there. So I mean, they lost in the first round, but it was against a really strong team, so who knows how far they would have made it otherwise.
Sure.
But yeah, getting a 20-point week in the first week is huge. And then on the other end, I guess I did expect MUOH Hearthstone to get more than 5 points.
Sure.
That's definitely a tough result for any team in their first week.
Yeah, I would say so. Um, Bone Masher, why don't you introduce us the first match for Red Conference here?
Sure. So the first match we have is believe Dad Legend versus Everyone's a Winner.
Yep.
And yep, so Dad Legend took the match 16-9 over Everyone's a Winner. In the one seed, Honest Zabe 3-0 over Yodaddy. Deshamo 3-0 again, sweep over Ninja Apple 3. And the three seed, Skittles was beaten by Jordan MG 3-2. Yellow Dart took it out in the four seed, 3-1 over Anabinator. And in the five seed, Tom Carter took it out over Hasta in the 3-2 in the five. So 3-2 to Dad Legend over Everyone's a Winner.
Strong result for Dead Legend, just putting them ahead by so much. Chicken, any thoughts on Dead Legend versus Everyone's a Winner?
Yeah, I definitely some pretty strong players on either side. I think going into this, I probably would have picked Dad Legend to win it anyways. You have people like Honest Zabe who have something like above a 60% win rate, like all across all of his pro seasons, which is
Yep.
pretty insane. So I definitely would expect him to do well in other leagues or in the other series.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, is it Haster? Is it? Was a bit of an unknown for me. But seeing them get at least 2 points versus someone over 200 PR above them is pretty solid.
Right.
And then yeah, Yellow Dart and Desharmo getting wins is pretty big for the team as well.
Yeah. That is just a very strong showing for Dead Legend. Before I ask if anyone has any comments about this match, I just want to thank Break for that Twitch Prime subscription and remind you all that it's always a prime time to sub, and we appreciate all subs. They help us keep the shows going. They help THL just get content, tournaments out, and many of the events you're all seeing pop up every once in a while, I hope. So, any final thoughts on Dead Legend versus Everyone's a Winner?
Just not really on the match, but just the general makeup of everyone's the winner's team. They don't really have that true 550 PR. They're really relying on their 2, 3, and 4, I think. Even their 5 seed is, clutching in at a 4 seed. So I'm interested to see where they can go from here. It seems like they're going to rely heavily on the bottom seeds, which is typically, funny enough, I think a Dad Legend makeup. Obviously, Haster's down there
Mm-hmm.
now, but I think Dad Legend typically relies on a PR system like that. So I'm curious to see what they do going on.
Sure.
Yeah, everyone's a winner is predominantly a bunch of wild players there coming over into standard. So I don't know how much standard play a lot of the players play there, and it'll be interesting to see how they all sort of settle down into their seeds once we get a few matches in. Obviously, all being very close in PR, they're going to move around a little bit. So yeah, a team to watch going forward, I think.
Sure. For sure. I'll take this opportunity to put us into our second Red Conference match. We have F2L or IF2L. My French has been so rusty. Tonight is not the night I'm going to say this with a French accent. But facing Serenite Pain Gang. Chicken, do you want to tell us about this match?
Yeah, for sure. So lots of pro players or people who play in the pro series from IF2L in the 1, 2, and 3 seed, with Bruto being new to THL this season, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then Magnificent and Why the Hunter being returning players, of course. Bruto and Magnificent got wins in theirs, with Why the Hunter and Jolt C being Serenite Pain Gang's wins in the 3 and 4 seeds. And then in the 5 seed, Judo Chomp was able to beat Clarity in a 5-game series. I don't really know the order that these matches were played, but definitely a very, very close series that I probably would not have picked to be as close as it was going into it.
Right? This is not a match I expected to be close at all.
Yeah, I think Why the Hunter in the 3 is a pretty crazy 3 seed. So I definitely would have picked them to win their match along with Bruto and Magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
I think Judo Chop and Joltzy are, well, I don't know too much about Joltzy, but Judo Chop didn't have a great record, at least in Hero last season. That,
Mm-hmm.
that's that's as much as I can remember. But yeah, him getting a win was obviously huge for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Neji, do you want to share any thoughts on this match?
Yeah, this is, like we've said, a lot closer than I expected. IF2L seems like a pretty powerhouse team with their 1, 2, 3 seed. I think it's pretty likely that two of their 1, 2, 3s win pretty much every week, and then they just need to rely on their 4 or 5 to get a win there. So the fact that Serenite Pain Gang got 13 points out of this against a really strong team, in my opinion, is pretty impressive because, again, the 1, 2, 3 on IF2L compared to the 1, 2, 3 on Serenite Pain Gang, it's just a lot of well-known players versus 3 people that I'm not too familiar with. So yeah, impressive week by Serenite Pain Gang to get a lot of points in a loss.
Mm-hmm. Anyone wants to share any final thoughts about this match? I'm not going to butcher the team names again. Or
I
about
was
Legacy Red.
I was just gonna say there was a big discussion in general and about pronunciations of the beginning of this team, and I believe it's supposed to be like Eiffel Tower, so or that's how people are pronouncing it, but it is supposed to be a play on like F2L. I think that's how they are requesting it pronounced, but yeah. Anyway, it's up for debate.
Sure?
Yeah, it's Tour FL. Tour FL is the Eiffel Tower, so I think it is meant to be F2L.
Yeah, just a little play on the
Pronounced
word
that
for
way.
F2L, so yeah.
Where's
I think I'm
Steffi
just
for me to
gonna.
give the pronunciations in times like this? Oh, go ahead. Someone said something?
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I'll just pronounce it differently every time.
Never,
Yeah?
never,
Just
never
just
pick a
change it
side.
up.
That's what I do. It's just if you keep changing it, at some point you'll get it right and someone will tell you.
So true.
Or just put a thick accent and stop carrying, but that usually does not work. It usually just gets worse every time you say it. Um, I believe that is it for Red Conference. I'll move us into Silver Conference, where Bone Masher is going to tell us the general standings for Legacy Silver.
All right, Legacy Silver Conference. In first place, we have Hearthstone Academy on 20 points. All Points Matter are in second place on 19. Hot Zilfs are in third on 18. STD on 15 in fourth place. Then we have the Cooler on 12, the Cult on 10, Golden Wisps on sixth place, equal seventh, with Dirty Mike and the boys also on 6 points.
This seems very different from the other conferences we've seen. Does this look weird to anyone else? I'll ask Gordon here. Do you think this distribution looks a bit weird compared to the others?
Um, I wouldn't say it looks necessarily too weird. I think, I mean, it's the people are where they're supposed to be. You know, there's your big 2019 18s, and then it kind of levels out. I think in the other conferences, we have to remember there are a couple DQs, so the points this
Mm-hmm.
week are a little bit sporadic. You know, that's why you see some of these bigger teams that we expected to have good showings. You know, really only pulling out five or so points, 6 points. So I think the spread is a little bit skewed at the moment, and hopefully, you know, week 2, 3, 4, it'll kind of level itself out.
Sure. Um, Speaking of leveling itself out, Neji, why don't you tell us about the first match for Silver Conference?
For sure. We have Hearthstone Academy versus Golden Wisps. We had Hockey Boys and Always Lethal in the one. Always Lethal took it 3-1. Ron Mexico versus Mick. Ron got a sweep. Big Ted 3-2 over MPV. And Cherub got a 3 over Thalfix. And Chewbacca got a 3-0 over Roadrunner. So HSA coming back strong this season with 3 sweeps to start off and 17-point week. Pretty impressive, especially over a team who did quite well last season in Legacy in Golden Wisp. So we'll see how HSA can perform, but it is nice to see all the old teams starting strong with HSA and the Stubbs and Pod people.
So I'll bring Cord in here. Any thoughts on HSA versus Golden Wisp?
Yeah, I can't say I'm surprised that HSA did well. They've got a really nice makeup this season. I think Sage has put together a team unlike any other for HSA in the past. I'm very surprised Golden Wisps, you know, the 3 sweeps that did come across, because uh, there are some very, very strong teams or players on the team for Golden Wisp, and you know, I think everybody's favorite from last season. Um, I'm very, very surprised to see this one play out the way it did.
Anyone else wants to share their thoughts on this match?
Last week on this show, I mentioned Hearthstone Academy as my sleeper team for the season. I thought Sage had put together a really good team. Chewbacca was really good for me last season in Legacy. Charap's come across from that team as well. So I am a little surprised because Golden Wisp is such a strong team, and they sort of brought back most of the same, if not the whole team, for this season. But at the same time, not surprised because I think Hearthstone Academy is also a strong team, and I think they're going to be one to watch this season in Silver Conference.
Mm-hmm. So I just have a quick question for Neji here. Is Ron finally off from his PR management season?
I think so. I mean, starting off with a 3 over a player like Mick is pretty impressive. So I'm hoping for Ron that he has his, or finally has his bounce back season. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Sure. Well, I hope Ron is not on a PR management season again. I don't think he is because he won every single one of his matches this time. But we will see what happens there. Now, to talk about our next match, we have the standard THL Degenerates versus the Cult. Gordon, do you want to tell us how this match went?
Yeah, I'd love to. This is actually kind of a special match. Standard THL Degenerates was the team I was on last season. And the Cult actually is Quaz's team, the team that Quaz captains, and he left SCD 2 seasons ago. So bit of an homage, these two clashing, you know, week 1 and getting right off to the bat. And I mean, a bit unfortunate there in the bottom with the DQ, but SCD didn't let it get them down. They rallied back very strong. Dr. BOMD, the captain, Sheep, and Booze pulling through very strong wins. And even with the sweep up top with T-Stu, being able to clutch through on a really really close week. The Cult was kind of a mid-run, middle of the park team, I guess, last season, and I expect them with the pickup of Hickett. I think this turnaround, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Hickett, typically a 2 seed as well.
Right. I don't think I would expect Hickett in the 3 at all here. Strong showing from standard THL degenerates, even taking the DQ into account though. I will ask here, Bone Master, do you have any thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I think this is two teams that are probably going to be looking at trying to get into playoffs this season. May have been just outside last season, so getting off to a good start and getting the points is great for STD. I, Again, I think I mentioned in another series, Boozosaurus back, him in the 4 seed. That's going to be really strong for them. Electric Sheep City in the 2, Dr. BMD. I'd like to see how Mr. Python goes. I know he had a rough season last year after having a really strong one the season before. So it'd be nice to see him get a few wins in the next coming weeks. And I think if Mr. Python in the 1 can sort of have a 50-50 win rate this season, I think they're going to be a team that can make playoffs.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, STD was a team last season, was it or 2 seasons ago? I sorry, that went to the semifinals. It was down to uh, them and actually they went to the finals. I can't remember my own team when we went, but I believe it was the finals when Zilfs won it. SCD's lost to Zilfs. So a team that can definitely pull it through. A little bit of a change up, clearly. I'm not there anymore, as well as it was. Quaz was the 5 seed, so it was 2 seasons ago. So a little bit of a makeup, but the core is still there, and now Dr. BOMD's playing, so we'll see how they can turn it around.
For sure. For sure. We're going to have to watch and see what happens with the standard THL degenerates. Any final thoughts on this match and Legacy before we move into Pro Series? Start to talk about Black Conference.
I think Booze in the 4 is probably the biggest standout, or thing that stands out the most to me. I
Right?
mean, we just saw him like in Hero in the 3 winning, so I think him in the 4 is gonna probably be even more winning.
That's true. Booze used to be a 1 or 2 seed a while ago, so I would not be surprised if Booze makes a comeback here. Now, taking this opportunity to move into the Black Conference for Pro, Neji, why don't you tell us what's going on in Pro Land?
Yeah, we'll take a look at the Black Conference standings. We have APM Avenging Prophet Murabi at the top with 21 points. Clowns Reloaded have 20. F12 with 16. Mr. Smite's side with 15. Faction with 10. Everyone's a Winner has 9. Taggers has 8. And Sheepies has 6. And then we have Mancrook's Multiple Wives had a bye week, so they don't have any points quite yet.
Mm-hmm. So, tell me a little bit, Neji, were these kind of around where you expected these teams to go in rankings, or was there any surprise before we talk about the particular matches?
Honestly, in my opinion, I think the strongest teams in black are near the top after week 1. I don't think there were too many surprises to me. I thought APM, my team Clowns, and F2L, and Faction, I think was the other one I was thinking of, were probably the top teams. Mr. Smite's side is a new team. They did pretty well in the first week. And then we have Everyone's a Winner, and Taggers is the all wild team, I believe. I think they're all wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of what I expected. We'll see what happens in the second week, but not too many surprises after week 1.
So, speaking about week 1, let's hop into our first match. Chicken, why don't you tell me a bit about Avenging Prophet Murabi versus Everyone's a Winner?
Yeah, we have the latest acronym of APM versus Everyone's a Winner. So Sabretooth all the way down to ABC got wins in their matches, and Magnificent actually ended up falling to Memnarch. I think APM on paper is probably a stronger team than Everyone's a Winner. Sabretooth is a pretty high ranked legend player, along with Chewy and Magnificent. I know are also pretty high PR players in PR'd series.
Hmm.
Though, I mean, although to be fair, a lot of people in Pro Series are anyways. But
Fair.
um, yeah, I'm not as familiar with ABC. They're the only person on APM I don't know. But I mean, they came in and got a win as well. So pretty good stuff for APM. Still, everyone's a winner. Still got some points as well. Not getting swept in any of their matches was pretty solid. And then Memnarch also got a win for them.
Yeah. Just strong showing here by APM. Let's have their captain tell us a little bit his thoughts on how his team performed this week.
Yeah, I thought we had a really good week. I was pretty happy with to get 4 out of 5 of the players get the win this week. Um, I think a little bit about ABC because Super Chicky doesn't know much about him. ABC's from Melbourne. He's an Aussie boy.
Nice.
He finished 32 on NA ladder in September and 10 in October, I think. So I think his Discord, his battle net is HZ and then 4 numbers. So you probably seen him on ladder, but not as ABC. He's got a different battle net tag, but yeah, so we've got some higher legend players in this season. I was able to get Magnificent and Chewy across from Undivided, who had disbanded from last season, and yeah, with Sabretooth and ABC in there to join Reverb, who sticks around from last season. I think we've got a good bunch of guys, and hopefully we can put in a good showing and make playoffs and see how we go from there.
For sure. Anyone else want to share their thoughts on APM versus Everyone's a Winner?
Oh no, we can move on. It's done. It's okay. Yeah, it's over.
Fair.
I wasn't gonna say anything, Corin.
It's all right. No, we definitely were not prepared. I don't think, as Illidan as it sounds. Yeah, everyone's a winner. I think it was first week jitters, maybe. It was a brand new team coming all together. Like, I don't think any of these individuals have played together in any sense across the board. So, but I can't take anything away from APM. They definitely came and they brought it, and you know, that's just the way it is. We'll see what we can do week 2.
Hmm. Now, our next match has, I believe, to be the weirdest pattern I have ever seen in a match. It's unbelievable. We have a Killers team here with Mr. Smiteside winning against Taggers. And I just want to ask Bone Master, how does this happen?
Um, and there's no DQs there, right?
No.
There's one.
Oh,
Oh,
one?
there was one. Oh, that was
Yeah.
Was that the final match?
It was. So this match was 8-8. And then unfortunately there was a DQ in the middle.
Oh no.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got 5 3-0s here. So we've got Mr. Smiteside, the 1 and 2 seeds for taggers, Lasagna and Rice Bowl getting wins over Venus, Pomoni, and Clark Hellscream. The 4 and the 5 was Donde and Booze over Otters and Seth. And I believe Battle Tagger was the final match. Is that right, Court? If you
Yeah,
understand?
that was the final match. Only reason I know is because for Player of the Week, I looked at that one and I was actually said, oh, like that's an amazing match. Tied 8-8. There's been sweeps on the other side, and then I reached out and I was let known that there was a DQ in that one that wasn't submitted yet. So it's an unfortunate end to it, but I mean, still shows how close those two teams were playing.
Hmm.
I feel a little bit let down. I went out on a limb last week and gave taggers a bit of a pump up as the wild players uh, coming into pro, and they're going to have a good big season. They're going to be the team that's sort of going to make playoffs, the team to watch, and yeah, it's it's always disappointing to have I don't know what the details are for the DQ, but to have a game 5 go to a deciding game 5 go to a DQ is disappointing. But I'm sure they'll bounce back. But yeah, it's 12-8. I don't think I've seen too many 12-8s in THL.
Definitely not. Neji, do you have any thoughts to share about Mr. Smite's side versus Daggers?
Yeah, I was also kind of big on taggers. I thought they were going to have a strong showing. A lot of really, really strong wild players coming over from the wild series and just wild ladder in general. But yeah, only getting 8 points here in their first week. Not the best result. But they did get 2 sweeps, so that's something to look on the bright side. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Smiteside getting 12 points in a win. That is usually you get a bit more in a win.
Right?
Um, so a little surprising to see 5-3-0s here. We'll just have to see how the teams do this week. I'm looking for taggers to definitely have a bounce back week.
True. Going to have to
I
keep
think
our
they're going to
eyes
buy. I
Well,
think they're
there
going to
you
buy
go.
this week.
They do have the buy, yes.
They're gonna have to wait 2 more weeks to bounce back. Then unlucky.
Well, this might not be a bad week to get the buy unless you really want to use Christmas to grind out Hearthstone.
Yeah, who knows?
Um, okay. Any final thoughts on Black Conference before we move into Pink Conference? All right. So, Super Chicken, why don't you tell us what's going on in Pink right now?
Yeah, so we're gonna get into the actual conference in Pro Series, Pink. So in first place we have no pros here with 19 points, no pros here with 18 points, EUNA with 18, Brushy Tuna with 16, Popeye's Spicy Chicken Sandwich at 12, along with Make Love Not Warcraft, Swagoy at 10, Poem Locked and Loaded at 8, and For the Boys in last with 0 points.
Is just really everyone together? It doesn't feel like it's a normal spread. How do you feel about this, Chicken?
Um, I mean, no pros here, as in, well, the team at the top. That definitely a team I expected. I mean, both of them actually, probably teams that people expected to do well. Um, both. Whoa, God, this is really hard.
Right?
They're both the same name. God, I hate whoever named that.
Oh, I'm sure Avi has a bit of a note on that. That
But
really sounds
anyway,
like
both
him.
teams made top 4 in playoffs last season, so not a huge surprise to see them at the top of the standings. EUNA was a team that was, I think, a bit underrated in the POW podcast. And then maybe rightfully pointed out by a few people, so that, and they had a great week with getting 18 points there. Proving the doubters wrong.
Hmm.
Brushy Tuna, doing fairly well. I think maybe Popeyes was the biggest surprise for me, seeing them only get 12 points. They were a team that I think a lot of people picked to be, closer to the top of Pink, but Pink is also like I think it's gonna surprise a lot of people throughout the season with how tough of a conference it is.
Hmm. Now, for our first match in Pink, Gordon, why don't you tell us how no pros here without the E after pros versus Popeye's spicy chicken sandwich went?
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go NPH versus Popeye Spicy Chicken Sandwich. I mean, right off the bat, you've got some great, Lammy series taking a 3-1 over J Rich, and then you've got Quaz going against Anazabe getting a 3-1. I mean, the games were all over the place. You've got your Pro Player of the Week, XQMA, taking the win over Myanodon, and then always just in time is seems like he never win or never loses. Taking down HMPWE crossover champion from last season, so very impressive there. And then your mom kid getting a win over Mr. Beluga, so just all over the place. No sweeps, nothing too crazy. Both these teams kept it very, very close. But I agree with Super Chicken. I'm very surprised at the outcome that, as close as Popeye Spicy Chicken Sandwich kept it, I expected, honestly, the win, and maybe even in a reverse standings here. But, hats off to MPH. They've been doing it for a while, and last season was very, very strong. And so it's going to be exciting to see if they can keep this momentum going.
For sure. For sure. Bone Master, any thoughts on this match?
I think as we've covered sort of in the podcast and on this show before, there's a lot of good teams in pink, and this was the one match this week where the favoured finals teams were playing against each other, and I was the one person in the podcast out on a limb that had Popeyes ahead of NPH from memory, and NPH have shown that they're good enough to get the points over Popeyes, at least to get that little edge for a final spot in the first week. It's still a long season. There's still a lot of matches to be played, but this is every win you can get, especially over another team that's expected to finish in finals, is a big week. So even if it's only a 15 to 12, it's going to feel like a really good win, even if it's only a small one.
For sure. Yeah, given how tight Pink Conference is, any point is a lot here.
Yeah, for sure.
Any final thoughts on NPH versus Popeyes?
Yeah, I think this was just a series that really could have gone either way. Like
Mm-hmm.
Pee Wee being the reigning crossover champion, as well, along with having a pretty solid pro season, losing to Justin there. Beluga's series probably could have gone either way. Same with Zay. Pretty much all the series, could have been a flip. I think a lot of it. I mean, obviously, I'm not really in either of the teams' camps or anything, but
Sure.
I think a lot of it probably came down to prep before the matches and what lineups got submitted, which
Yeah.
which does end up happening a ton of the time in pro with it being open lists. So I think
Mm-hmm.
um, no pros here probably got the edge in terms of preparation this week.
Sure. And you can see prep is really important. If you have a team with chemistry that already knows each other, you do have a bit of an advantage. Even when the other team has someone who preps a lot like Justin, you can always work prep in and use that to your advantage.
Personally, I think prep is for rogues, but that's just me.
Sure. Awesome. I'll take this moment to move us to our next match. Neji, why don't you tell us about the final match of the night that we're going to cover?
Yeah, our final match is Brushy Tuna versus Make Love Not Warcraft. Very tight one in the first week here, 13 to 12. We had Pocket Train sweeping fourth place World's McBanterface. Very impressive win off the start there. We have Ron Mexico with a 3-1 over Donkey. Donkey went undefeated last season, the regular season. So
Yeah.
another big win for Ron there. We have Batmocile with a 3-1 over Based. Lotus, you got a 3-1 over Sergeant Teabag. And Ridiculous Hat coming back to Pro Series with a 3-2 win over Draco Cat. Yeah, really, really close one this week. I think I'd say the biggest surprises were the first two. Again, Donkey having that undefeated season, seeing him go 0-1 is a bit surprising. And then I mean, obviously McBanterface had Worlds this week, so I'm sure he was pretty busy prepping for
Eh,
that, and maybe didn't have the same prep for THL. So obviously Pocket Train's an insane player too, so not that surprising, but yeah.
who trains for Worlds?
Yeah, imagine. Especially when you have a THL match that week, right?
Right. We did offer a sub if he needed. We did ask if McBanterface needed a sub, but he said he would do it. There's an actual pro here. Corridon, any thoughts on this match?
Yeah, the one that's, I mean, I was, this is another one where I was looking at player of the week because it was a tight one. Right off to the bat,
Yes.
it was Draco and Arhat hadn't played like Sunday night, I believe. And I was kind of
Yeah.
sitting there saying, like, oh man. And yeah, I mean, Arhat took the win over it. And, there was a big contemplation that I almost did it for Arhat. But XQMA won out over me, and a couple of nominations as well. But I'm more surprised that Make Love Not Warcraft kept it as close as they could have. I think a lot of people had Brushy Tuna as probably the favorites in pink, if not over Popeye Spicy Chicken Sandwich. Just with the addition of McBanterface and Arhat from past seasons. And I think people kind of passed over Make Love Not Warcraft in the opening of Pro of the reveal stream when they see Pocket Train and Donkey and this kind of mishmash of a team now that's been a kind of two different teams that has come together. So it's gonna have people are gonna have to watch out for them. They definitely have put a target on their back, that's for sure. Brushy Tuna walked away with the win, which is fantastic, but nothing to scoff at. Make Love Not Warcraft did a really fantastic job here.
Mm-hmm. Chicken, anything you want to add about this match?
Yeah, I think the 1 through 3 seed matches went pretty much the opposite way of what I would have expected. Donkey going undefeated in pro last season, unless he lost in their first round playoffs. I don't remember, but he went undefeated in the regular season, anyways. But yeah, like I would have expected him to win. Based, probably would have picked to win, and then of course, Worlds qualifier, top top 4 at Worlds, player banter. Who I like. I had him as like one of my favorites to win Worlds altogether. So I definitely would have thought that he would have won his match. But as was stated before, he obviously had a lot on his plate. Those leading up to Worlds. So I mean that probably had something to do with it, and also Pocket Train's a really excellent player that did great last season as well. Although Make Love Not Warcraft didn't do great overall.
Yeah.
But then yeah, I think in the 4 and the 5 seed, I definitely would have had you and Arhat winning that, just because of I mean, yeah, as I said, like Make Love Not Warcraft didn't have a great time last season.
Mm-hmm.
And Brushy Tuna generally did a lot better.
Sure. I thank anyone who picks me to win, even though it's usually a bad idea. Uh, that said, though, I just want to note Pocket Train is a crazy player. He was rank 1 on 2 servers at the same time, wasn't he, or something like that? He did one of these crazy feats. If it wasn't 2 servers at the same time, I'm sure he was top 10 legend in 2 servers at the same time.
Yeah,
So
he's an unreal player for sure.
yeah, I don't think you can underrate this one. As much as, yes, Banter is. I don't think we need to talk how crazy Banter is. Banter was number 4 or one of the top 4 players in Worlds. But Pocket Train is the kind of player that can make a team crazy, I think. And I'm looking forward to seeing Make Love Not Warcraft's just be a surprising team this whole season. I think they're going to be quite out of people's radars, but they're going to creep in.
I think they've definitely been overlooked, just lost in the wash after we saw all the teams from playoffs last season land in pink, and like they're just sort of left down the bottom. Everyone's already looking at the other 6 teams that are there, so I think if they might not make playoffs, but I think they're going to have a lot of tight matches against the teams above them, and if they can sneak a few matches, they might get there. Like this one's closer than I would have thought it would be, but the fact that they've got 2 wins against Brushy Tuna, you just don't know if they can sneak a win here or there. They could make a run, but it's a very, very tough conference to be able to do that. I think if they're in silver conference, they might have a better shot at it. But they've got to go with what they've got, and I'm sure they'll give it every shot.
Sure. Does anyone have any final comments on Pro before we move back to our main screen? All right, I'll move us back to the main screen. We've talked about the series. I do have a quick debate question before we go for our checkout and ending of the show tonight. We had a patch yesterday which changed 13 cards, and we already had Bone Masher claim that it did nothing. So I want to open here to a debate, and I want to ask, how effective was this patch in changing Combo Land into something else? Was it effective? Was it not effective? And I'll start with Corridon here. What are your thoughts on the current patch?
I mean, it's been a day. I don't know if we can really say much has been affected and much has changed, but from my guttural reaction, I think Garrote Rogue is still number one. I think maybe OTKDH is going to be a lot more difficult now that Molargs aren't free. I think the Molarg change is probably the most impactful, but I think Garrote Rogue is still going to be pretty obtrusive in closed deck formats. When you see a rogue, you always have to respect the fact that it's there. Even in open deck, if you just see Garrote Rogue, you have to respect it. So it's a bit early to call it yet, but I don't really think there's a whole lot of change just yet.
Sure. Chicken, I'll hop to you. What are your thoughts on the 13 card changes that happened?
Definitely feels a lot more balanced, at least in the last couple days I've been playing on ladder. I think there aren't. I mean, aside from, I think Garrote Rogue is probably the standout winner of the nerfs. But other than that, like, I mean, its power level's definitely been brought down a decent bit. It's a lot harder to tempo Octo or to go for something like Octo proc field contact turns. That gets delayed a turn.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean the deck. I think the tempo options for the deck have really been cut down a lot.
Sure.
But yeah, I think so. I think matchups like against Face Hunter and decks that play on board a lot are gonna take a hit. But against your slower matchups like I don't think Priest is really going to come back into the meta anytime soon. Like, I don't think any big changes are going to happen. Like, maybe Ping Mage is the only thing that might be a winner of the buffs. But even then, it seemed pretty underwhelming so far.
Mm-hmm. I'll leave Neji for last. Bone Masher, anything you want to add to your original thoughts? Has it felt to you?
Yeah, I think the comment I had before was pretty much about Garrote Rogue. It still does what it does. You're paying 1 extra mana to do something that it already did. It's not changing the way the deck's played. The biggest change, I agree, the biggest change is probably with the OTK Demon Hunter. Maybe our TK as well affected with the nerfs. I think with that being that there's going to be less combo deck or less oppressive combo decks in the meta. I think aggro will come back. Just a matter of seeing whether or not that can be as effective to try and
Mm-hmm.
push Rogue out, but I suspect not.
Sure. Neji, any thoughts on the new meta that's starting to form?
Yeah. So I remember having a conversation with Nails a couple weeks ago. We were trying to think of the last Rogue card that had got nerfed because Garrote Rogue had been so powerful for so long. And the last one we could remember was Secret Passage, and then like a couple days later, I reminded him. I was like, "Wait, didn't Garrote get nerfed?" And I just find it funny because literally we could not remember that the Garrote got nerfed because it didn't feel like a nerf at all. Literally, the
True.
deck was still the best deck, and I think that's still the case. Obviously, like Chicken said, in some tempo matchups, the Octobot's worse because you can't play it on 2 and it's harder to proc. But I think Garrote Rogue should have taken a bigger hit. It's been the best deck by far at Top Legend for months and months now. So I'm not super thrilled that they just did Octobot by 1 mana, but it has only been 1 day, so we'll see. Also, Druid took a hit. I think the Celestial nerf was pretty big. Right now, we're
Hmm.
seeing more board decks come back, so alignment is definitely a lot worse with the less combo decks currently. And then I'm surprised. Well, maybe not that surprised, but I find it kind of funny that Owl Lock was this new combo deck, and after like a week they obliterated the deck, but they didn't obliterate Garrote Rogue still. So I don't know. It's a
Fair.
little weird to me that that deck gets destroyed, but Garrote Rogue gets to live on for so long as the top deck.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that was like the biggest shock to me. Like Owlock was like the only new deck that got hit and it got like obliterated. 3 cards got
Yeah.
nerfed. It just got there's like okay, yeah, this deck has to die. I think it had to do a lot with, public opinion.
Sure.
Like it was super prevalent at a lot of ranks, not just top legend, where you mainly see Garrote Rogue. So I definitely think that had a lot to do with it. Its play rate being so high.
Do you
Hmm.
guys think it was a difference between Garrote Rogue being harder to play than Owl Lock?
I think
Like
it
Um.
was, yeah.
like the fact that you could
Yeah.
pick Owl Lock up and pretty much say, "Oh yeah, I understand it." When Garrote Rogue, there's so many different lines that you need to make sure that you can take or not take, and when you need to go tempo and when not to. In Owl Lock, it's pretty much like get the combo and win. Live essentially.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that was definitely big.
Hmm. Now, one thing I will add, just a thought. I think there's a point that Handlock was basically not nerfed. Handlock was already one of the best decks pre-patch, and a lot of Handlock's bad matchups did get nerfed. So I'm expecting us to see a ton of Handlock again, and basically we're back to the meta we had before the expansion launch in some way.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, yeah. With Handlock comes, mages and comes shamans and, you know, it's kind of just how we felt before Alarak. I mean, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Libram Paladin's still, top tier. It just feels like we're just playing the same meta, really. It doesn't feel like anything too much has changed other than everyone has a hero card now.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, the only new deck was the Freeze Shaman, and they nerfed that too. So,
Yeah, that
True.
one got
or
smashed
and Owl
too.
Warlock, they literally just
Yeah.
deleted. Well, not deleted. The Freeze Shaman's still good, but they nerfed
Yeah.
the 2 new decks, and all the old decks got like a slap on the wrist. Like Touch of the Nathazim nerf was kind of a joke. I don't really know what that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Like if you're trying to hit Warlock, you gotta actually hit it. That didn't really do anything.
No.
Yeah. Um. All right. Well, that brings us to our checkout question of the night. So, before our checkout question, I just want to take this moment to thank you all one more time for being here with me tonight. I had a ton of fun, a lot to go through, but I'm glad we did this on time. We are keeping to the 1 hour and a half we're trying to go for each show. So, first of all, I want to thank directly from Australia Bone Masher for being here tonight. Thank you so much. Our checkout question for the night, for everyone, but starting with you, Bone Masher, is what was the biggest week 1 upset, in your opinion?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Lotus. I think the biggest week 1 upset for me comes from Legacy Silver Conference. Hearthstone Academy over Golden Wisps, 4 matches to 1. Golden Wisps were the number 1 seed in Legacy last season,
Yeah.
amassing the most points. So Hearthstone Academy bringing some players together, forming a new team, coming out, taking on the top team from Legacy last season and smacking them down, taking the top spot in Silver. Massive, massive win and a really big upset. I think that for me, that's the biggest upset this week.
Sure. And thank you so much one more time for being here tonight, Bone Masher.
Thank you.
Next we have Neji Boston. Neji, thank you so much for being here tonight with us. Always great to have you and your insights for all of these matches going on here. Tell me, what was your biggest week one upset?
All right. My week one upset has to be APM Yin over LeBron. With JR taking a 3-0 over Nails is the biggest upset there. Had to call out Nails there.
Sure.
Yeah, a surprising outcome, but it is Hearthstone. Anything can happen.
True. That's definitely true.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me on the show.
oh, it's my pleasure. Always great having you. Next, Super Chicken, thank you so much for being here tonight. I hope you had fun on tonight's show. I want to ask you, what did you feel was the biggest week one upset?
Yeah, lots of fun going over the matches. I think my biggest upset was probably Hearthstone Academy over Golden Wisps, with Golden Wisps being the #1 team coming out of the regular season in Legacy last season,
Yeah,
and I think it was also how convincingly Hearthstone Academy won their match. Beating them 17-6,
that's
including
true.
3 sweeps. I think that's a pretty big statement win from Hearthstone Academy, saying saying that we're gonna make playoffs this season and we're gonna do really well.
That's true. Thank you one more time, Chicken, for joining us tonight. And finally, Gordon, as always, thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you had a lot of fun tonight. I'm sure I did. Tell me, what was the biggest week one upset for you?
So I think I'm going to amend your question a little bit, Lotus. I hope you
Go
you
for
bear
it.
with me. I'm not so much the biggest upset. I'm kind of going for the biggest surprise, and for me, it's Serenite Panging. Even though they didn't win the week, taking 13 points up to F2L. I think it's really surprising. I think people had them rated very low, and they probably had F2L, mid tier to higher up there with some really great players. So I think Serenite Panging taking a lot of points there and even some game wins off of them is very impressive, and I'm excited to see what happens going forward for them.
Yeah. Um, I completely agree. That was one of the things that I had for myself when I was writing this question. I'm like, you know, I actually didn't expect SPG to do this well, and this is way better than like just the fact that they were very competitive against F2L or whatever you say it is so significant here. I will add though, one thing that did make me upset was the number of DQs. And I will take this opportunity to remind everyone not to get DQ'd. It's
Yeah.
not good for anyone. No one wants to win a DQ match. It's just, we're here to play.
Yeah. Also remember you have 2 weeks to submit for this upcoming week. Decks aren't due until the 29th of December. Whereas your results need to be submitted by January 2nd, 2022, the new year. If you did DQ this week, you will not roll over, so make sure you get decks in, because if you DQ 2 weeks in a row, I can guarantee you no one will be happy.
Fair? Yeah. Also, rolling over in a week with nerfs is never a super recommended idea. Although Garrote kind of stayed the same, there have been some changes to decks. Especially if you brought Owllock. I'm pretty sure your list is not going to be the same anymore. But that said, I think that is it for us tonight. I want to thank all our viewers, and I want to thank Corridon, Bone Master, Super Chicken, and Neji Boston for joining us here tonight. There will be more content coming in this week. We have tomorrow Tavern Talk. We have on Thursday. I don't know if it will be Thursday or Wednesday, but there is Wild Show still happening, and there will be match shows many nights or most nights this week. If you would like to play on stream, you can DM me, you can DM Saku, you can DM Dr. Fish, and we will get your match on stream. We're always looking for matches. Any levels welcome. I think everyone here has already played on stream, and they can attest to how fun it is, and you get to learn something. We're mostly there to learn together and to have fun watching a game of Hearthstone. It's a very low pressure environment. So, um, play on stream, please. That said, that is it for us tonight. Have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you later.